Hey everyone, quick update for the week ending Friday, March 14th. So we started off Monday with a big sell-off, kind of back and forth, and then finally got a little bit of a squeeze today. S&P ended up almost 100 points. NASDAQ and Russell ended up over 2 full percentage points, and the Dow up 560. Gold and silver ended the day a little bit green. Gold new all-time highs today. Silver, not new all-time highs, but getting close to that $35 an ounce. Notes and bonds were kind of choppy to sideways to lower. 10-year yield finishing at 4.32. Oil, pretty choppy sideways. Natural gas had a big surge on at the first part of the week. Higher and then immediately sold off for a little bit of a sell-off for the week. Soybeans, back and forth, early in the week, down, later up. Wheat, pretty sideways. Corn, fairly sideways to lower. The euro continued to surge, so relative weakness. The U.S. dollar getting a little bit weaker compared to the euro and the pound. And then Bitcoin finally had a bounce today, up 5%, back above 84,000. Big contraction in VIX today, down almost 12%, below 22, finished the day at 21.77. So finally seeing some volatility contraction. I've talked about several times in our community, taking a look at the correlation between SPX and VIX. You know, SPX bottomed, had a new low on this sell-off yesterday. But VIX hasn't had a new high since the 11th. So is that a sign that we could have put in a bottom? Maybe. You know, obviously anything can happen, that things could turn quickly, markets could make new lows, VIX could make new highs. But certainly a good sign for bulls that, even with the S&P continuing to put in lows, volatility was kind of done expanding, at least for the short term. So we'll see if that continues next week. We do have everyone's favorite FOMC chair, Jerome Powell, taking the mic, and the FOMC report coming out on Wednesday. Other news, Monday we've got retail sales pre-market, Tuesday nothing. Wednesday's the FOMC in the afternoon. Thursday, unemployment claims pre-market, and then really nothing on Friday. So that's what's on the docket for next week. As far as my trades go, so I booked almost 50K this week, mostly or primarily due to some day trades and some overnight directional swing trades. But let's go through these different categories. So 0-1 DTE. I booked almost 3,400 on my price action iron condors. I did a couple little ricks today. I just closed them out early for small profits. They had a tiny upside max profit. They couldn't even get to my profit target because of the way the options are priced right now. So just closed those early. 1 DTE from yesterday didn't hit my stop loss, but took a little loss on that. And then on the other category, had a bullish VRR, one winner, one loser. And then I was doing some testing on some multi-tranches at the end of the day today. So took a little loss on those. So net for all the different trades for my 0 and 1 DTE category, a little over 2,300. BIX, we were brutal this week. I don't think I've had, since I've been trading these, I don't think I've had a week where every single day was a loser. So minus 5K on BIX for the week. Not good price action for the BIX. No Wugas this week, no Mahomes. Calendars, small scratch week, minus 145. The calendars I put on last Friday actually held up really well, even with a huge gap down on Monday. They couldn't, like my 3-6 was a loser. It couldn't sustain the continuation lower on Monday. But the way the options are priced right now, you can have a pretty sizable move without being in danger of breaking out of your range or breaking out between your strikes. So look forward to some potential winners in the calendars here coming. And I've had a decent month, up 4K on the month, but this week was basically a scratch. Transformers, just one. It was a 1 DTE Iron Condor, booked 915. Option selling, did take a loss on a duck. Got smoked out of that duck for minus 1700. I've got a few others open. And then day trades is where most of my profits came from. And primarily, I had a couple swing trades that I put on yesterday in MSTR and NVIDIA. I posted a video on our day trading channel with more details about that. But really was just anticipating this, a little bit of a squeeze finally. We had kind of the long story short is, we had CPI and PPI this week. We had, what else do we have? We had consumer sentiment this morning. We also had JOLTS on Tuesday. So we had a lot of news that was kind of out of the way. So I really just, not a lot of executive orders or Trump stuff going on. So I really felt like we had a situation where a lot of the news was finally out of the way. And so it kind of led the way for the market to actually bounce and find a little bit of a squeeze higher. So that was my anticipation. And I picked NVIDIA and MSTR to do that. I sized up pretty good on those, but they ended up working out really well. So over 53K for the week on my day trades and then those couple of swing trades. I'm also holding some MSTR and Microsoft calls long over the weekend. So we'll see if those play out. So that is my week. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.